We joke around, but we are honestly not even friends anymore.
No, we're not. No, it's just...
We're coworkers.
This is the worst job I've ever had.
You son of a bitch. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Nerd You're Looking For podcast, a weekly nerd culture podcast that discusses the culture through various segments. My name, of course, is Patrick Kuhn, alongside my co-host, as always, that Tyler Hunt. How's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm good. Happy birthday, by the way.
Thanks. I knew you were going to fucking save it for the podcast. Like, I walked into your house and you didn't say a fucking word about it. I'm like, whatever, it's not a big deal. But I know that as soon as he's going to tell me on the podcast, that's what he's doing.
For sure. I didn't even post it on your Facebook because I was like, I'll save it for the podcast. We joke around, but we are honestly not even friends anymore.
No, we're not. No, it's just...
We're coworkers.
This is the worst job I've ever had.
You son of a bitch. No, so how old are you now? I honestly don't know.
27?
27.
And you'll be 29 this year, right?
Yeah. So you're pretty much the same age as my wife, which you would think that I would know how old my wife is, but that is not the case.
Yeah, I believe, not that anyone listening cares, but I believe she was a year younger than me in school. Like, so
yeah, okay.
She'll be 27, I'm guessing, later this year, right? When's her birthday?
Sure.
All right. Do you know her birthday?
July 30th.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah. She's almost exactly 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
Fascinating.
Yeah. We've lost everyone already.
Yeah. So happy birthday, by the way.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. So if this is your first episode, we start off each episode, by just checking in with each other. We call it what we're into. So Tyler, what are you into this week?
Honestly, we'll be reviewing The Walking Dead later in the episode, which I'm sure you know by the title of the episode. But I've really been into that because I was so far behind, and obviously it'd be a really big cop-out to say, oh, I'm into The Walking Dead. Yeah. So what I've done besides The Walking Dead, binging that, is I've been playing a lot of The Division, which I'm still really enjoying. But then I also went and saw Hardcore Henry last night.
Okay, cool.
This was a movie that was kind of on my radar, but kind of not. And then I saw it started getting good reviews. So I'm like, yeah, why not? It could be pretty interesting, even though the first person thing kind of wasn't appealing to me, I guess. If you don't know, I'm just going to read the IMDb synopsis. I'm not as good as Pat is at making synopsises up. So it's a first-person action film from the eyes of Henry, who's resurrected from the dead, with no memory. He must discover his identity and save his wife, rather, from a warlord with a plan to bioengineer soldiers. So, it's a pretty straightforward movie. I thought it was interesting that somebody pulled the trigger on doing a first-person point of view movie. You remember the movie Doom? With The Rock? There's a first person part in that movie, and I just remember everyone hated it. Everyone hated that part of that movie. And maybe it was just the theater I was in, but that was the feeling I got towards it. So I thought that it was interesting that, 10 to 15 years later, however long it's been, somebody's making an entire movie like that. So if it weren't for that part of it, like the first person, this movie would be god awful.
Really?
Yeah, the plot is really weak, and the acting is really terrible, except for I'm not gonna be able to say his name. Charlton Copley. Like, I'm just gonna say the guy from District 9. Yeah. But I love that guy. He's awesome, and has a lot to do in this movie, and he has a lot of range to show, and I won't spoil why, but he kind of gets to play different characters, which is cool. So he's great, but everybody else is pretty bad. Specifically the main villain. It's this guy, and he has a Russian name, and I'm not gonna be able to pronounce it, but he plays the main villain, and he's awful. He's like really colorful and just too far out there. It doesn't make sense. This movie will probably end up being a cult classic. I think it's honestly getting really good reviews, and It does have that kind of interesting thing going for it where it's unique in the fact that it's entirely first person point of view, but it's really nauseating and it's jarring at times. And there were a couple times where I had to look away from the screen just because that feel of it was almost worse than a found footage movie in that regard.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. I want you to see it and I want to see what you think, because I know you're not a big found footage fan, but are you not a big found footage fan because of the that element of it, or is it like the shaky camera?
The shaky cam doesn't necessarily bother me that much. I didn't really have a problem with that in the Bourne movies. It's the found footage aspect of the fact that it takes me out of the movie, them having to kind of justify and keep justifying as the shit hits the fan why that person is still recording what they're recording.
Yeah. I mean, just to wrap it up, this movie is basically a novelty movie. It's not that
it sounds like a gimmick.
Yeah, that's the perfect word for it, a gimmick. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I did have some fun with it, and there's some really cool action sequences in it. And again, I love the guy from District 9, Charlton Copley. But I don't honestly think I'll ever watch it again.
Yeah, I wanted to go see this. You went and saw this last night. It was a little bit past my bedtime. And I don't know why. They have a ton of showings today, but for some reason they only had one showing in one theater in Evansville. Evansville has like 20 theaters, it seems like, and only one of them had one showing. So I thought that was kind of lame. I wanted to go see it last night.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think this will come and go. I don't know. It looks a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it would be a really cool, like 10, 15 minute, like short.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For a full-length movie, it seems really gimmicky.
Oh, it was. And, by the end of it, I was looking at my phone like, all right, let's wrap this up.
It seems like if the plot, like you said, isn't that great, it seems like the novelty of first person would wear off like halfway through the movie. And then you kind of just, like you said, kind of looking at your clock.
There's only so much you can do with that gimmick as well. So they do it all in the first half of the movie, and the rest you're just waiting for it to end, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man, what are you into?
I am into, I got the Division from GameFly, but I've only got to play that for a few hours.
Yeah.
I was playing it when you came over, Tyler, in my underwear. As I do, as I play video games. People that know me personally know that that's just my uniform when I play video games. But, like I said, I've only got to play it for a few hours, so I won't discuss that. I don't know why I wanted to bring it up. Honestly. I talked about a Netflix original comedy, a couple episodes ago called Flaked. And I want to talk about another one that just got released recently. It stars Ashton Kutcher, Danny Masterson from that 70s
you watched
show.
This?
Just wait.
Sorry to interrupt.
And it also stars Sam Elliott, which seems like a weird choice. But it basically, it's about this. It's called The Ranch. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but it stars Ashton Kutcher, like I said, and he plays an ex-football star that is forced to come back home to help his father and brother run the family ranch. And I mentioned a couple episodes ago when I talked about Flaked that I only got through 3 episodes of that show. I only got through 4 episodes of The Ranch, which honestly, it's not a horrible show. I actually liked that 70s show, so I was
I do too.
Somewhat excited to catch this show. Unfortunately, it's for sure a comedy. Like Flaked it's kind of a darker comedy.
Yeah.
But this is for sure more of a sitcom comedy. And the jokes they're the lowest common denominator of comedy, like the lowest hanging fruit. Literally, there is a joke, a kind of a recurring joke in at least the first 4 episodes where Ashton Kutcher's character, which I think his name is Colt in the show, and his brother, Danny Masterson, who is I don't know his actual name, but everybody just calls him Rooster. They sack each other in the balls.
Okay.
That is a joke. 2 grown men hitting each other in the balls. That is a joke on this show. They're not horrible jokes. I mean, other than them sacking each other in the balls. That's awful. But they're the lowest hanging fruit. So you kind of see them from a mile away.
Yeah.
Like there was multiple times while watching these 4 episodes where a character is talking and I thought to myself, this is what the other character is going to say to him. And obviously not verbatim, but for the most part, they did the same type of joke that I thought they were going to. And they do a lot of callbacks. And unfortunately, the first joke that they're calling back to, it wasn't funny to begin with. So callbacks only really work if the joke originally was funny. So that's not great. To its credit, though, even though the sitcom-y kind of comedy aspect of the show doesn't always work, it does have some surprisingly touching moments. They do a lot of like father and son, like Ashton Kutcher and Sam Elliott's character don't really get along, which, I mean, you've seen that in 100 other shows before, and you've probably seen it done better than it is in this show, but at least they're trying to do something more than just two dudes hitting each other in the balls. So, I mean, it definitely has potential. I just couldn't get past the 4 episodes. I will say that Kutcher and Masterson obviously have great chemistry. I loved that 70s show. Masterson's character, Rooster, does have potential. He's definitely, it's weird to say he's the comic relief in a show that's a comedy, but there is some really like tense moments between Elliot and Kutcher. So he kind of breaks the tension a lot in those scenes. And I liked him a lot playing that character. Unfortunately, I just don't think the material that he's working with is great. He does have one joke that I actually looked at my wife while watching it. I was like, that's actually a really good joke. Like, I can't even remember. I would bring it up, but I don't even remember. But, like I said, it's not a terrible show. It has potential. It just, for me, there's so much better stuff on TV right now that I just can't waste any more time. I have so many other things that I want to consume that 4 episodes is enough for me.
Yeah, I'm surprised you gave the show a shot. I mean, I loved that 70s show as well, but everything about this show looked bad to me. I'm actually surprised you had anything good to say about it, which interests me a little bit. I don't know that I'll actually check it out, but I guess it's great that it's not a complete train wreck.
No, it's like I said, it has potential, but it's not as funny as it thought it was.
Yeah.
All right. So our next segment is just plainly called Comics. Tyler and I read a ton of comics each week, and we like to spotlight one or two. So what'd you read this week?
I read a comic I didn't even know existed until I went to the comic book store.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
that's always nice.
That looks pretty interesting. So it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Deviations.
Yep.
I wasn't aware this came out, but basically it's like it's a one shot and it's a what if story. So it's, the premise basically is, or what sold me on it is, what if the Turtles were on Shredder's side?
Okay.
And I was like, that's pretty interesting. So let's check this out. And I was a little disappointed with it. So just to give you some, backstory, like I'm not 1,000% confident with the current run on IDW, like what's happened. I'm so far behind on that comic that I'm not aware where the story's at right now. But from what I understand, at some point Leonardo was brainwashed into joining Shredder, and the other 3 turtles have to kind of get him back. And what this comic is saying is, what if instead of just Leonardo, all 4 turtles were brainwashed? Okay. Where I thought going into the comic that it was going to be like from scratch, like maybe the Shredder raised the turtles.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. So Casey Jones is killed and all 4 turtles are bad now. And they're chasing Splinter, trying to get Splinter and bring him back to Shredder. Long story short, they do catch Splinter and they get him back to the Foot Clan base, and some stuff ensues. It's kind of weird because the turtles are bad, but they still talk like the turtles. So they're still saying stuff like dude and, just their language. Like, that kind of shit. So it was kind of weird them talking like that while they're evil. And that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. I don't know. It's weird because it also has a happy ending, and I won't get into the specifics, but in my opinion, when you do a one shot like this or a what if story, that gives you a chance to really explore what would happen in these crazy circumstances where it's not canon. Yeah. So what if the turtles were bad? So it was weird to me that it wrapped up in this nice little package and had a really happy ending, because if that's the case, it could have easily been canon. It could have been an issue of the IDW TMNT. I mean, there were some main story casualties, or not main story, main character casualties. But if you take that out, then you could have had an easy couple issue arc in TMNT. So I thought that it was weird that everything wrapped up really nicely. So I was a bit disappointed because I thought it was a cool concept and I thought it would really get off the rails and they'd really have a lot of free range with it. But in the end, it was just kind of a one-off Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's just it didn't meet my expectations, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth about whether or not I was going to get this, and I ultimately decided against it because I haven't heard great things about it. And plus, I'm already reading 2 Turtle books, and there's going to be a 3rd one coming out. Well, one of them's a mini series, so it'll be over before there's, I guess, they just announced recently that there's going to be a 2nd ongoing Turtles book,
wow.
so I'll be getting that as well. So I'll be reading 5 Batmans and 2 Turtles. That's just between 2 comic books. I'm stressing out about that a little bit.
Yeah, this also had a pretty hefty price tag. It was $5, and there was some cool stuff at the end of the issue where it was like how they put together a page where like it had the script and then like the art direction and then it showed you like the finished page. So that was pretty cool, but not worth the $5 price tag.
Okay, cool.
What did you read this week?
I read Black Panther #1, which is another book that I kind of went back and forth about getting. Like we've mentioned before, we're both trying to kind of cut down on just the bare minimum of what we need to read. I actually ultimately decided to get this, obviously, or I wouldn't be talking about it. Because I heard
been a big letdown if you were just like, and I decided not to read it, and that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all I have for comics. So I had heard some really great things, and I am a huge Marvel guy, so of course I know of the character, but I've never read one of his solo books. He plays a big role in most of their Marvel's big events, like recently Secret War. Civil War is coming up. Secret Wars, obviously, he had a big showdown with Thanos and he played a pretty big role. But ultimately, I don't know the ins and outs of the character. And I'm really glad that I picked this book up. It was a nice introduction to at least some of his backstory. I mean, I already kind of knew it, but it was kind of nice to see some of these characters before Civil War. Obviously, I don't think they'll really dive into his character too much until the actual solo Black Panther movie comes out, but it was just nice to kind of get an introduction to the character.
Yeah.
I liked how it was really self-contained. It was completely a Black Panther story, which you're probably thinking, well, that's obvious. It's Black Panther #1. But with all of these books, because there's such a huge universe, Marvel typically will bring in another character. Like, not all Spider-Man books or Spider-Man issues are just about Spider-Man. There's you mentioned a joke with the Invincible Iron Man with Thor coming in.
Yeah.
Like, there's always those cameos or whatever you want to call them with other characters. Well, in this book, it's just exclusively Black Panther, and you just see his world, and I appreciated that. I'm going to kind of contradict myself a little bit because I've talked in the past that I don't like books that are really exposition heavy and a lot of word bubbles. But because I got this book to kind of give myself a little bit better understanding of the character before Civil War and before his solo superhero movie, it wasn't horrible that there was a lot of like explaining, because that's kind of what I wanted from it anyways. So I think if you already know a lot of the character and you want just like pure action or whatever, maybe this book is at least this issue is gonna be a little bit disappointing. But for me, that's exactly what I wanted from the character.
Yeah.
Also, it was the author's first ever comic book.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he's a writer. I've never read any of his stuff, but he is a professional writer. But this was his first comic book. So I think you kind of have to grade on a curve a little bit with somebody like that, because even though he is a professional writer and he's a great writer, I enjoyed this issue. It still takes a little bit to kind of get used to writing for comic books. So I think as this book goes along, I think he'll get better at stuff like that. I also thought that the artist did a really great job capturing the environment. It was a beautiful environment. It's kind of a weird, and I can't even remember the country that he's the king
Wakanda?
of. Yeah. I knew it started with a W, but I couldn't place it. It's kind of weird because it felt, at least with the artwork, it felt like it was really tribal, but also they're very, like technologically advanced.
Yeah.
So there was a juxtaposition there, and I thought the artist did a really great job kind of portraying that. I also liked that Black Panther, at least in this issue, is kind of vulnerable. And he's kind of in a situation that's a little over his head.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool to see a superhero be in that situation. And he doesn't quite know exactly his next move. And so it was just kind of cool. Got a good introduction to the character and kind of got to see a little bit a different side of a superhero than you normally are used to seeing. So I would definitely suggest picking this up.
I did pick this up. I just haven't read it yet. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope that I have the same feeling you did about the exposition and stuff.
Yeah.
I hate whenever a comic's just all word bubbles. Like I enjoy being able, it makes me sound like I don't like reading, but I enjoy whenever somebody's able to tell stories through, the pictures and there's a lot of action. So hopefully I feel the same way you did.
For sure.
All right, man. You ready for nerd news?
For sure.
All right. Every week we do our segment Nerd News where we talk about the big nerd headlines that have come up since the last time we spoke. This week is no different. I got a lot of Spider-Man and a little bit of Star Wars. So, a few Spider-Man stories. The first was that Sony registered a bunch of domains.
Yep.
Kind of possibly hinting at what the Spider-Man standalone movie in 2017 may be called. So the first one that came out was that, was going to be Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
And then there were some other ones the next day that they also registered. So they registered Spider-Man Coming of Age movie, Spider-Man Greatness Awaits movie, and Spider-Man Suspended movie. And all of these suck in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's a bit disappointing.
Do you think it's a smokescreen?
I hope so. But I don't know. I was hoping they would go like Spectacular Spider-Man or, something that there was a comic book of at
Superior.
one point. Superior Spider-Man. It'd be weird to start off with that one, but
yeah.
I don't know. Like out of those, I guess I would take Coming of Age maybe, but they're all kind of weak.
Yeah.
Like Homecoming. Like what if it's really about just Peter Parker going to his homecoming dance?
Yeah.
Cause they're going far and they're going to
Spider-Man suspended. He gets suspended for like smoking pot or something.
Somebody at Sony is just like, oh, that's brilliant because he's in high school.
Yeah.
And like, he's also a spider. So suspended.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. So, I mean, they're going to great lengths to make everybody know like, hey, he's in high school again, guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. While we're talking about that movie, though, there was also an article that came out today. I saw you shared it on our Facebook and Twitter and stuff. Basically, Kevin Feige confirmed that other Marvel characters will be popping up in the Sony Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
So chances are we'll see some people that he meets in Civil War kind of pop up, which I think is cool, but I hope it doesn't take away from the standalone Spider-Man story. And I don't think it will. Like you had Falcon pop up in Ant-Man, and I don't think that took away from the Ant-Man origin story. So it'd be kind of cool to see that in his movie as well.
Yeah. I kind of keep going back and forth about it because it is this huge universe, and one good thing about the comic books, like we mentioned, is that you don't ever just have like just a straight Spider-Man story. These characters come and go. And so it's kind of nice if you just had a solo Spider-Man movie that didn't have any reference to the Marvel Cinematic Universe or didn't have all these other characters kind of come and go. It wouldn't feel like it was in this universe. So that's nice. But also, I thought the the Avengers stuff felt forced in Ant-Man. That fight scene was cool, but I just thought the Avengers stuff, I almost said Justice League again. Goddamn Batman v Superman. I want to be done with that. Anyways, it felt a little bit forced.
Yeah, I think Edgar Wright felt the same way.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure that's why he left, is because they're like, oh yeah, you're putting Avengers shit in here.
Yeah, for sure.
So from Spider-Man movies to Spider-Man comics, we have our first details on the Dead No More storyline, which is going to begin in Amazing Spider-Man number 19.
Yep.
So I have a little paragraph here. I'll read it to you. The mysterious man in the red suit has offered some of Spidey's deadliest foes the deal of a lifetime. If they serve him, their dearly departed loved ones will be returned to them. Fail him, and he'll take them away forever. Rhino, the Lizard, Electro, and Doc Ock have all accepted the deal, but it isn't just the villains whose loved ones are returning. So I am not caught up with Amazing Spider-Man, the ongoing. I'll be honest, I have not even read issue 1 of the relaunch. Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things that's piling up at this point, and I really want to, and especially by the time Dead No More starts. But is this kind of like something they're planting seeds for right now?
I'm a couple issues behind as well. Not that, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, Doc Ock's not back yet, as far as I know. So I thought that was kind of weird that they're already, I mean, they're already saying that he's back, and we haven't had, or at least I haven't read, being a few issues behind as well, that they've hinted, of course they've been hinting that he's still there. His consciousness is still there, just like they hinted that Peter Parker's consciousness was still there back in Superior Spider-Man. So it's a little bit confusing. I'm not crazy about this Dead No More stuff. Like, it makes me really, really nervous because I'm afraid they're going to bring back Gwen Stacy or Uncle Ben, or, I mean, we've had this conversation before. I don't think that you can bring back either one of those.
Do you think they'd bring back Gwen Stacy because Spider-Gwen's become so popular?
Probably. And I've seen artwork of someone, they haven't come out and said it was Gwen Stacy, but they kind of led you to believe that it might be. So
I guess she doesn't have a secret identity then. Does she go by Spider-Gwen? Because that'd be like Spider-Man going by Spider-Peter.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
We've narrowed it down to anyone named Peter, so.
Yeah.
And there's, I don't know. Anyways, needless to say, I have not read any Spider-Gwen.
Yeah. No, that and Silk, I'm not crazy about.
Yeah, I liked Silk's introduction.
For sure. That was cool.
But I don't know that she, like you said, she deserves her own run in comics. So, all right, we'll move away from Spider-Man and on to another Disney property. How about Star Wars Rogue One? We got kind of a surprise teaser yesterday. It was announced, Wednesday, that the trailer would drop Thursday. So I don't think anybody was expecting that. Yeah,
I mean, like, since the Ghostbusters, I'm always hesitant to talk about trailers. No, I watched it and I legitimately got chills. Like, it's so cool looking. And then I had to immediately go to Twitter and verify that that I'm not, of course I'm joking. I don't give a shit what anybody else likes, but yeah, I mean, it looks so cool. I mean, there's only so much that you can do with a teaser trailer, but they're just taking a page right out of basically their own book by not giving us a whole lot, but giving us just enough to be excited. I love the caper aspect of it.
Oh, for sure, man.
It looks so cool.
Yeah, it looked awesome. I've only watched it once. I need to go back and watch it again just because it's very short, but it seems like there's so much because it flashes from scene to scene pretty quickly, but it's just a different feel than we've had from the Star Wars movies, but it still feels like Star Wars, and it feels really good. It feels like it's going to be a lot of fun. And I don't know, I love Felicity Jones. I think that she's going to be awesome in it.
For sure.
So yeah, I'm really pumped for it. I'm really pumped that it's on my Rotten Tomatoes team.
Yeah.
I think that
I'm actually that in Finding Dory. I'm scared.
I'm hoping that I think that it's going to be back and forth for most of the year, and then I'm hoping that I think that'll probably be the last of the movies we drafted. That it's the last release date.
Yeah,
I'm
for
hoping
sure.
That's my home run hit. We'll see. We'll see by the time 2017 gets here.
It's not going back and forth, by the way. I am destroying you.
You've had 3 movies to my
4.
1. Okay, you've had 4 of your movies already?
3. Okay. You're right. Sorry, I can't count.
Glad we went through that. You've had 3 of your movies to my 1 bad movie. So, although I will say Batman v Superman was a lot worse than I was expecting. I was expecting 40s. And the fact that it was 29 a week later?
Yeah, it's 29.
That's
officially 29, yeah.
This is off topic, and if I need to, I'll cut it out. But comicbook.com had this article. It was kind of like a bait headline, and I was like, oh, yes. And they were like, is Rotten Tomatoes... It was something about Rotten Tomatoes being fishy on how they calculate scores. And they were using Batman v Superman as an example. And it's this whole long article, and they did this investigation looking into each review. And then the end is like, no, they're not. This is how they do it. This is how they do it for every movie. But I guess, if it's a 3 out of 5 stars, Rotten Tomato counts it as a negative review. Yeah. They did the same with Jurassic World. I mean, I guess everybody just has different interpretations, and you really have to get into what the body of the interview is. But me and you have both said, for our podcast, whenever we give something 3 stars, we're recommending it.
Yeah, it's a very soft recommend. Yeah, for sure.
So when you give not that Rotten Tomatoes gives a fuck what we think, but if you were to give a movie 3-star out of 5, would you want Rotten Tomatoes to count that as a positive or a negative review then? A positive, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Glad we're
All
on the
right.
same page here. All right. That's all I have for Nerd News, man.
All right, cool. So our main topic changes from episode to episode, like Tyler alluded to earlier. We're going to review the 6th season of The Walking Dead. We're going to do this review very similar to the way we've done our TV reviews lately. We're going to do it very similar to the way we do our film reviews. We're going to try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but I figure since there is a huge cliffhanger at the season finale that I think we're going to try to do it spoiler-free up until we talk about the finale. I think we have to have a separate spoiler conversation about that cliffhanger because it's going to be such a big topic of debate. It is already, and it will continue to be until the 7th season airs, which I think is in like October or something like that. That's usually when they do it. So
I agree with you that we need to keep it spoiler-free, but I will say that it is bullshit that other establishments do not share our
for sure,
because I knew how the season was going to end way before I got to the season finale. Like I said, I binged most of it this week. I'd only gotten 5 or 6 episodes in, and before I kind of gave up on the season. And like comicbook.com, which is a site that I love, completely spoiled that there was a big cliffhanger. So
yeah. All right, so like I said, we're gonna start off this review kind of like we do all of our film and TV reviews as of late. We're going to start off with broad strokes. So Tyler, broad strokes, kind of your general overview.
So this show is getting kind of tired. I'm not as big of a Walking Dead fan as I used to be. But that being said, there are good episodes placed sporadically throughout the season. And this season, I think, was better than seasons 4 and 5. There were some episodes that really kept me intrigued and really kept my attention, but then there were also the episodes that were a chore to watch. And I feel like that sums up not just this season of The Walking Dead, but most seasons of The Walking Dead. Like there's the big event episode and then 3 or 4 episodes that follow different groups doing different bullshit where nothing happens. And then you go back to the big event episode, and that formula is just tired to me. And that's part of the reason why I couldn't keep up with this season. I just kind of gave up on it at one point. I always had the intention to going back and watching it, but it became a weekly chore for me. So, it was something that I knew I was going to have to do like this week, binge the rest of it. So, I think that this show needs to have shorter seasons. I just think 16 episodes is too much for this, formula. So I know that that's kind of a weird broad stroke, but I guess if I had to sum up season 6 in like one word, it would be tired.
Okay. So I think we're going to disagree about this season. I've had my problems, like it sounds like you've had your problems with this show in the past. And it's kind of what you mentioned is it's just really badly paced.
Yeah.
It seems like they always have a mid-season break. So they have 7-8 episodes, and they always take their mid-season break, and they do a really good job of starting off and ending each break really well.
Yeah.
They always have a big episode. But the rest of the episodes kind of in between the breaks of the starting off and the ending of the breaks always seem to drag, especially really since season 2. Season 2 itself was kind of boring. To begin with, they spent way too much time on the farm. But those in-between episodes are always kind of hit or miss for me. They tend to linger on certain characters or relationships between characters. And honestly, it seems like there is a pattern. It's like they build up these relationships or they build up these particular characters, and then they kill off that character at one of these breaks or the season finale or whatever. And it gets to the point where I think they're trying to build it up so we care more when this like shock value of this character dying that we've got to know better in the last couple episodes. But it actually kind of works completely opposite for me, is because they have these really boring episodes featuring this character. I want this character to leave. Like, I don't want to watch this character anymore. So I'm actually kind of happy when it happens.
Yeah.
So it kind of works the opposite for me. For me, at least, I thought season 6 didn't really have that problem. It sounds like it did for you, but for me, from start to finish, I thought there was very few peaks and valleys, like in past seasons. Like in the past seasons, there are some really drastic differences between certain episodes as far as the pacing is concerned. I thought this is one of the better seasons as far as the first episode to the 16th episode, as far as very little pacing problems. There are a few threads here and there that I think could have been either cut out or done a little bit differently. But I mean, I really enjoyed this season. It's one of the better seasons I've seen since probably 3 or 4.
I mean, I'll give you that. It's like I said, it corrected a lot of the peak and valley issues that 4 and 5 had. Like, I think that this season's not a bad season of television. Maybe I was pretty hard on it in my broad strokes. Like, there were more episodes that I enjoyed than I didn't enjoy. It's just the episodes I don't enjoy, I really hate.
Yeah.
It's really hard to watch with this show. Like, there's no redeeming qualities to them, in my opinion.
Okay, so we're definitely going to disagree a lot. So we'll jump right ahead to the story. And like I said, in my broad strokes, I think from start to finish, this season has the tightest and the stronger stories that I've seen with this show for a while now. I really liked the beginning of the season. I thoroughly enjoyed how they broke up that beginning arc. I mean, it kind of carries through the most of the season, but the first 4 or 5 episodes was really about, and they show you in the first trying to get all of those walkers away from Alexandria. And I liked how they broke that story up from the different point of views.
Yeah.
And so it spread the action throughout multiple episodes. It seems like in the past, that whole arc would have been 2 episodes of pure action and then 4 or 5 episodes of just them talking to one another. And that kind of goes back to my previous statement about just the past seasons have been really badly paced. And I think that kind of breaking it up to different characters, different groups of characters and kind of their point of view of all of this shit that's hitting the fan. I thought that was interesting, and it kind of spread the action out throughout the course of those 4 or 5 episodes versus past seasons where they've kind of crammed it all into 1 or 2 really awesome episodes, but then the rest of that arc kind of drags. So I think they did a really good job of finding not necessarily a unique way, because people have done this before, and I really enjoy that dynamic. I like these groups getting broken up and kind of dealing with it in kind of solving problems, not really knowing what the others are doing and kind of trying to second guess what the other, well, we should do this because I think Rick will do that. And I think that dynamic is really interesting. So I really liked that they found a way to kind of even out all the episodes by kind of giving you different point of views.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with all that. See, I think that the show has just kind of become bland and it's become very formulaic. And the way that they go about the formula is different every season, but it's still the same formula. You encounter new people. You have to go back and forth. Can we trust them? Can we not trust them? Oh no, there's some walkers. Oh, I'm going to have a moral conundrum now. And then you wash, rinse, repeat. It's just, each season's obviously different and different things happen and different plot twists happen, but it's just there's only, I guess, so much you can do in this post-apocalyptic world they've built. You're either going to have to fight the new people you met or work with the new people you met or face walkers, and there's nothing else going on. I don't know. I guess I got more enjoyment out of this show whenever they were on the move and trying to survive. You talked about how much you didn't like season 2, but I liked season 2 and I loved season 1 and even season 3, at the prison. I don't know. Once they get somewhere stationary, they've been at Alexandria for the past bit or on their way to Terminus or whatever, it gets formulaic. I don't know. Maybe it's just because the show's getting older, but there's only so many times that you can have a big walker attack or you meet the people at Terminus and it turns out they're cannibals, or you meet the saviors and it turns out they're terrible. There's only so many times you can do that. And I understand, or the governor's people for that matter. And I understand they're following the comics and the comics are highly regarded. And I love the comics, but I don't know that they're translating it very well to entertaining TV. Some episodes, like I said, like I really grip me and I'm really intrigued, but there were a lot of episodes this season where I'm like just on my iPad half paying attention because it was kind of boring to me.
Okay. I disagree. I think, like I said, I think it's probably one of the more chaotic seasons we've seen, just because the group is split up for most of the season, and they're all dealing with the same thing. In past seasons, and I'll agree, I think you might have said this earlier or something like it earlier, it seems like everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and some of those miniature arcs aren't that exciting. I think they did a really good job this season of they're all kind of doing their own thing, but they're dealing with the same problem. It's all happening, but they're all separated. So I liked that dynamic, is that they're not all doing their own thing, so to speak. They're off separated, but they're not necessarily doing their own thing. And plus, I think that some of the character work in this season is better, maybe because they've killed off some of their more boring characters, and I appreciate a lot of the characters that are left. But I think that Morgan's arc, which I think is something that we're going to disagree with, but I thought that I love that character, and I think that his arc throughout from season 1 to season 6, even though it hasn't been as developed as some of the other characters because he was gone for so long, but I think you get to see a lot of what was going on when he wasn't there. And I think his arc is one of the more fascinating ones on the show. I didn't really like Carol's. I will give you that. Carol's towards the end of the season was pretty boring for me.
Yeah.
Morgan just following her around pissed me off because I do like that character so much. And I didn't like the fact that Carol starts off in I guess it would have been the first season and a little bit in the second season, where she's just kind of a little bitch. Like, she's not, because of her abusive husband and everything, she just isn't a very strong character. And then she kind of grows up in this world and she toughens up. And it was kind of sad to see her kind of regress towards the end of this season. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. But for the most part, I think some of the character work in here is probably some of the best that we've seen in a couple of seasons in this show.
Okay. No, I agree with the Carol stuff. Like, you're seriously having moral conundrums now? Like 6 seasons
for sure.
in, we're still having moral conundrums about killing and this and that. We're still talking about this on this show. Like, I thought we got past all that in like the first 3 seasons. And so to see that kind of stuff rear its head again made me really roll my eyes. I mean, I disagree with you 100% on the Morgan stuff. I think he's a shit character now. And, we'll get into that with performances as well. But, there were some character arcs I appreciated. Like, I liked, I always like the stuff that happened. I like the stuff that's going on with Glenn and Maggie. Like, I think that that's important that, spoiler alert, I don't think it's that big of a spoiler. They're expecting a child.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that you throw that wrench into things.
But they've already done that with Judith, though.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's something about Glenn and Maggie. I like their relationship quite a bit. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other character arcs in this season that I really liked. But when I think about the characters in this season I really liked, I don't think that they changed any. Like, I thought I liked Daryl in this season, but Daryl's still Daryl and Rick's still Rick. Like, I would say, like, people that are actually going through an arc right now, or maybe like Abraham. I did like the stuff that went on with Abraham. But the stuff with Carol was really tired.
Yeah, I just didn't like to see her character regress. Like you said, you don't really have, at this point, you're a badass. Like, you've grown up in this world and you've survived in this world for a reason. And the fact that you kind of regress, there was a point, and I think I even tweeted this out, cause I started live tweeting the last few episodes cause it was a lot of fun. But, I thought the whole rosary thing was a play.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I was really disappointed that it turned out to be for real. Like, I thought she was playing them, playing up being a little bitch.
Yeah.
And so they didn't take her very seriously and they kind of underestimated her. But it turns out she was just being a little bitch. And so that really disappointed me because I thought it was a play and it really wasn't. And it bummed me out to see her regress. And the fact that Morgan just started following her around on that fucking horse. Where the hell did he get the horse? I don't get that. I don't get where those people came from. But anyways, it just kind of bummed me out that she was kind of taking one of my favorite characters down with her.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see where things end up next season. I can't imagine it'll last.
Nah. So the next little tidbit that we always talk about is performances. And for me, after 6 seasons, I think a lot of these actors and actresses know how to play these characters, especially the ones that have been since season 1. You do have some different arcs like Carol that have kind of regressed. And honestly, I think that she plays, and I wish I had written down her name, but I wish that she doesn't play.
It's not Melissa McBride, is it?
I don't remember. But that does sound right, to be honest with you. But
yeah, that's right.
I don't think that she plays the sensitive person very, I think she played a pretty convincing badass. She just has a weird look to her, like she just has a stare.
Yeah.
And I don't think she plays the emotional stuff very well. Especially towards the end where spoiler alert, she gets hurt and she gets to a point where she's basically just telling the guy to end her life. And it made me cringe a little bit. Like I just didn't think that performance was really great. But for the most part, like everybody does a really good job. I think Andrew Lincoln tends to overact in certain spots, but he's British and he does a decent, American accent. Unlike Maggie, I think her American accent is really bad. But, I think he does a okay job. Like I said, he tends to overact at some spots. But, like I said, after 6 seasons, there's really not a whole lot that you can say about the performances.
Yeah, everybody's kind of found their niche.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I agree with you there.
I guess you don't like Morgan.
Oh no, he's awful.
Really?
Every time he acts on screen, I roll my eyes. Like his whole spiritual thing makes me want to vomit because he doesn't portray it very well. He's like a cardboard cutout.
Really?
I really don't like that guy. The best performance of the season lasted 10 to 15 minutes and was the last part of the season. I thought Jeffrey Dean Morgan was amazing as Negan.
Yeah.
But
We'll get into that here in a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, everything else is kind of like you said, 6 years in, everybody's kind of found their character and knows what to do. Not a lot changes.
For sure. You're going to hate my notable episode. I only picked one.
I picked 2 notable episodes. One I hated and one I loved.
I'm pretty sure the one I hated, you hated is the one that
I'm going to probably guess that's accurate.
So why don't you just go ahead and what's the one that you hated?
Episode 4. Here's not here. This was the episode that made me quit watching this season.
Wow.
And then I had to go back and binge it all this week.
Wow. I don't even know what to say, man. That is the only notable. I mean, because we're going to have a separate spoiler conversation about the finale and most notably the cliffhanger. So, I only picked one episode and that's Here, Not Here. I really liked this episode. I feel embarrassed that you hate it so much.
No, don't feel that way.
Like I said before, I loved Morgan's arc from season 1. I think he's the character, other than maybe Carol, but I didn't really like Carol's arc. I think he's the character that's changed the most drastically since season 1. He kind of goes from showing Rick the ropes and having the whole thing with his wife. And then, of course, that goes to shit. And then he kind of goes crazy. And then we find out what kind of brings him back.
Yeah.
This episode. I mean, you find out what kind of brings him back. Like, I'm not going to the Morgan we saw in season 1 in this episode.
I'm not going to disagree that this episode wasn't necessary because we saw Morgan in the pilot. Then we saw Morgan in a one-off episode in season, 4 or 5. And then we see him again and he's completely different again. So you have to tell the story of why he's not batshit crazy anymore.
I will say that it felt weird when it happened in the season, because you have all of this shit kind of hits the fan, and then they take a break from it and just talk. And they kind of did the same thing with the episode that you're referring to. I think it was called Clear.
Yeah.
It seemed like all that shit with the governor was kind of starting to take shape, and then all of a sudden they go off into this town and find Morgan, and it kind of seemed like in that season I actually liked that they kind of took a break from it, and this season I will give you that it felt weird.
Well, that's the Walking Dead way, man. You do something big and then you take 2 episodes and tell us stories we don't care about. Well, Pat cares about.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Like I said, I think he's progressed more than most of the characters, which is weird because he's probably been in the least amount of episodes out of all the main characters. I don't agree with his perspective, but I understand where he got to that. I don't think it fits in this world, but I understand where he got it. And it serves a purpose, not only explaining how he becomes this person that finds Rick in Alexandria at the end of season 5, but he also may have saved Denise from the wolf guy.
Yeah.
Because this is him telling the story to that guy, and that guy goes from wanting to kill her to basically saving her. So that story may have saved Denise. Spoiler alert, doesn't really do a whole lot of good. But that being said, I think it definitely serves a purpose. I will say again that it did seem weird where it was placed within the season, but I disagree. I really thoroughly enjoyed this episode.
Awesome, man. Well, the episode I really enjoyed was episode 9, No Way Out.
Okay. That's the episode I fucking hated.
No. That episode was the episode. I don't want to, again, I know we don't want to get into spoilers, but there's basically a Walker onslaught on Alexandria, and some stuff happens with Carl that's pretty big. And it basically ends with Rick just going out into the zombie horde and hacking away. And everybody just comes to his aid. Everybody is there for him. And it's just this huge zombie fight, which is what I love. And it kind of shows me like this core group again, how strong they are and what we've been through for 6 years, and they're all there for each other. And that kind of reminded me why I care about these characters. And it was also just good zombie stuff like that. And that's what I love this show for, as well as the human interactions as well. So this episode did a lot right. And I loved what happened with Carl as well.
For sure. This is an important episode because it's an important moment in the comics. It's basically stripped right from the comics because they have a similar thing that happens in the comics, and it's a big turning point for Rick. He goes through this phase where he thinks that he just has to do it on his own. And then this moment in the comics kind of reaffirms that what they can do together, what they can accomplish together. And it's a big turning point for the character in the comic book. And it's basically the same exact thing that happens in the show. So it's definitely an important episode. Don't think it's more important than the Morgan stuff.
Fuck you.
Now I'm just trolling. But I mean, I only had one episode, but I definitely agree that that's a big one as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. So are we gonna get a little spoilery?
Oh yeah, for sure. So like spoilers, like triple spoilers. Like if you don't want to know what happens in the season finale, just look at the timestamps, skip ahead to Nerd Favorite. And so we're going to spoil the shit out of this. So
there's nothing to spoil.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was my main complaint with the season finale. Like I said, in broad strokes, Walking Dead has really established itself as a show that can start a season and start each break and end each break really well. And this was a fucking bummer.
Yeah.
This season finale was a bummer. Nothing happens until the last about 10, 15 minutes of it, which is fantastic. It would have carried this episode because that last 10, 15 minutes was fan-fucking-tastic. And then the cliffhanger.
You know, this episode was like an extra long episode too. It was like what, an
It was
hour and a
90
half?
minutes.
Yeah. So I don't know. You could have cut out a couple of the parts where they are roadblocked and just had a regular episode. Like,
See, I appreciated that part. The thing that I cut out is the Carol stuff.
oh yeah.
For sure. Just leave her alone. Just let her go.
Anything with Morgan cut out and you're
Fuck
good.
you.
No, but
now you're just
but
trolling.
yeah, you're right. Like the last 10, 15 minutes of the episode were great, but it's not like I didn't expect this. Like, well, I expected it because everybody spoiled it for me. I don't know how I would have felt if I was watching it live Sunday night and that had happened. Probably angry, but it's not like The Walking Dead to kind of be a pussy like that, or not necessarily like they were being pussies, but to not show you that and make you wait half a year to find out who
It's
died.
what they do, man.
Well, I don't feel like any other season has had a cliffhanger like that. Like, and this is the moment that you've been building up to for 16 fucking episodes. Like they hinted at it. Like even at the season finale or the mid-season finale, it ends with that like little teaser where he's like, all your stuff belongs to Negan.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, oh shit, Negan. Then you wait 8 more episodes to meet Negan, or I'm sorry, 7 episodes and 45 minutes or whatever it is. And he finally comes, and it's the moment that they've been teasing. And, you know, the guy from Grand Theft Auto is saying, like, you know, maybe somebody in that RV dies today. Like, oh shit, somebody's dying. Like that, leading up to the episode, it's like, who's going to die? Who's going to die? Who's going to die? And then to not do it and to kind of tickle your dick like that and not finish the job was shitty.
I just want to point out that you did say Negan coming and tickling the dick in like the same sentence. So that was a little disturbing. But I don't know. I just think that they unfortunately understand that they own the internet right now.
Oh, they're going to have crazy ratings when season 7 comes on.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they know that people like us are going to talk about it. Who do you think that it was, and all this, and have all these debates. I've seen so many articles, like people have like just have these crazy theories about who it is. And honestly, for me, I think it's Sasha. I'll come out and say I think it's Sasha.
I hope it's Sasha.
Because like I said before, they kind of have that pattern of building relationships just to kind of knock somebody down. And
well, what about Abraham then?
It could be either or, but I think Abraham's too big of a character that they don't knock him out. I think they knock out Sasha because we're building that relationship, and they have a few really touching moments in the episodes leading up, and then of course in the season finale. So I think it's either one of them, and my vote would be for Sasha. And I think because Abraham's such a big part of the comic books and such a big fan favorite, I think that they don't touch him.
I think at this point it can't be Glenn. Like,
I think they try to change too much from the comic books, which, spoiler alert,
it is.
He died. Yeah. It's almost the exact same scene, except for it's Glenn in the comic books. So I think they've tried to change it up so much that I don't think it is Glenn.
I don't think it can be. Like, if you wait half a year to reveal that it's just the person that it happens to in the comic books.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it has to be like a big moment.
Yeah.
Like, would it be crazy to say like it's Rick or it's Michonne?
It's not Rick. It can't be Rick.
I think that they'll eventually kill him off, and like they're going to have to like grasp for ratings and grasp for something huge, and they'll kill him. To be honest, I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, because I mean, he is the backbone of The Walking Dead, but
for sure.
I know that a lot of theories going into Sunday before we found out that we don't know who dies was that it could be Daryl.
Yeah, pretty much. I assumed that it was going to either be Glenn or Daryl, but just the way that season finale went down, I just assumed that it's going to be either Abraham and Sasha.
I don't know that they'll kill Daryl because he still has to kill. He's got to kill Dwight, right? Yeah,
and I also just think that the producers and writers understand that Norman Reedus has just been kind of an ambassador for the show.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they get rid of that.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see who it is, but at this point, there's going to be theories for every single character that it could possibly be, that by the time you get to season 7 premiere, it's not going to be that interesting, I guess, because we're going to spend half a year talking about it.
Yeah, it pissed me off because I was really bored with the season finale. And then, of course, we saw Negan, and he just knocked it out of the park, pun intended. And, and I was, oh man, it's gonna happen. It's gonna I was so pumped. And then they kind of cut to the first person, and he takes his first swing, and I was like, okay, cool. Pan back, like, let's see who it is. And then by the second swing, I was like, no. Like, I understood what was gonna happen. And then, of course, you see the blood, and then they cut, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I couldn't, like, the Glenn stuff falling off the dumpster was bad enough. And then we have this shit. At least we got to see some of the Glenn stuff. This is bullshit.
You know what I hate is that Morgan and Carol are not there kneeling, so neither one of them could be killed.
Fuck you.
Especially Morgan. Like that, I'd be praying that Morgan would be the one to get it, but he's not even in the picture.
No. All right. Well, I mean, that's pretty much all I have for season 6 of The Walking Dead. Do you have a star rating? I know you get really confused when we do this for seasons.
I can get one.
Okay. So,
but yeah, I want you to go first.
Like I said, I really enjoyed this season. Other than the season finale, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars.
Okay. That lines up with what I was wanting to get at. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we didn't give it the same thing, because obviously I have to give it something lower because I hate it. But I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was kind of teetering back between 3.5 and 4, but I really hated the season finale. So
I would recommend this season of television to someone.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So even though there's way too much Morgan.
All right. So we end each episode by asking each other a really nerdy question. We call it Nerd Favorite. It's Tyler's week this week. So what's Nerd Favorite this week?
I feel like we just got to go with something obvious, Walking Dead related. So I don't believe we've done favorite Walking Dead character.
Okay.
And you're going to say Morgan, aren't you? Yes. Son of a bitch. The trolling has turned. No, it can be any character that's ever been on the show. I'm going to go with Glenn. I love Glenn. I love the arc that he's had over 6 years, being a pizza boy to the guy that saves Rick in the second episode of the series to this great member of the team who's boning Maggie. Lauren Cohan's fine. So,
terrible American accent.
No, but I really like Glenn, and I really, really hope that he sticks around a little bit and he's not the one that meets Lucille. Although I kind of want them to stick to the comics as well. So I'm kind of torn, but I hope that Stephen Yin, if that's how you pronounce his last name, sticks around for a little bit, because I like him as Glenn quite a bit.
For sure. It's Morgan.
Are you being serious?
Yeah, for sure. Like, even before,
I think I know what it is. So who's your favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle?
Donatello.
And what does he use as a weapon?
I don't know what the technical term for it, but it's just a big stick.
It's a stick.
Yeah.
That's the connection.
I hadn't thought of that before. That's actually...
You just have a thing for big sticks.
I do. It's because I have a big dick, so I just relate to everybody else.
There you go.
But yeah, it's Morgan for all the reasons I've been saying for the last half an hour.
Okay.
All right. So that's it for episode 89 of the Nerds You're Looking For podcast. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's both at the Nerds Podcast. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Google+. Vote for us for Podcasts a Month at podcastland.com. Comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Nerds You're Looking For. Check out our new Twitch channel. Rate, review us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, basically any good podcatcher you use, we're on it. You can also email us at thenerdsyou'relooking4@gmail.com. For Patrick Kuhn,
Tyler Hunt.
we are the Nerds You're Looking For. Take it easy, guys.
See you guys.